Zach LaVine, who went down with the injury against Toronto Raptors, we now have an update on how long he's expected to be out, and it actually puts us close to the trade deadline. We're going to talk about all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So, per Shams Charania, who just tweeted this out, Zach LaVine is now expected to miss 1 to 2 weeks with a right ankle sprain that was suffered in the game against the Toronto Raptors. We talked about it on today's daily episode that we got 9 games left until the NBA trade deadline. And so Zach LaVine missing possibly 1 to 2 weeks is going to put him out really up close to that. Now, does this affect the trade market or anything for Zach LaVine? That remains to be seen. It's not a severe injury or anything like that, but considering how much time Zach missed previously with the injury, and one of the things that was noted in some of the doubt that teams have around Zach LaVine is his ability to stay healthy. I'm sure people are going to run with this to say what this means or not for the chances of Zach LaVine, being moved and how teams are going to look and view this. But it's unfortunate for Zach, who really has just not been able to really get a good rhythm started. You look at the start of the season, starting off shooting his worst shooting percentages, really the second worst of his career. Him, DeMar, and Vooch really started off really bad as far as shooting splits. He then goes down for an extended period of time, over a month. The Bulls play really well over that time period. And then he comes back for a few games and, has some up and down play over that time as far as his production over that time. And then now he's going to be out for another 1 to 2 weeks. And for Zach LaVine, he's typically a player that always goes towards the higher end of whatever time he's expected to be out per his injuries. So that may mean something there. Am I reporting that per se? No, not necessarily, but it is something to definitely take a look at when you look at when you look at all these things when it comes down to Zach. So 7 games Zach LaVine has returned from. Now, over those 7 games that Zach LaVine came back from injury, the Chicago Bulls did go 5-2 over those games. So, for those questions about how he impacts winning, how the Bulls play with him, at least the Bulls were still getting wins in most of those games than not. Now, there were some stagnation and on and off-court things that definitely you could look at if you want to plug that in. But overall, this sucks. This sucks for both sides. If the Chicago Bulls, which Joe Cowley just reported, were still focused on trading Zach LaVine, they want to reshape this roster. If they do still have plans to try to move Zach LaVine by this trade deadline, this could severely impact that. Now, like I said, it's not a major injury. There's no structural damage. It's not anything that is any risk to need surgery or anything like that. So it may not affect it as much, but you still got to have those questions when it comes down to it. He was able to come back, play a little bit after it. But I'm sure there's some swelling on that ankle. And I talked about it after the game, the fact that adrenaline probably got him through. I said that then on the post-game show yesterday. Don't be surprised if Zach LaVine misses some extended time, because once that adrenaline stops and you get that swelling and doctors take a look at it, it's an ankle. You literally use your ankle in everything you do in basketball. And so, yeah, it's unfortunate. Zach LaVine being really active defensively over his time since he's come back. When you look at his splits in the games since he's returned back from injury, Zach LaVine's averaged 15.6 points per game. He's done that on 48% shooting, 39% shooting from three-point range, taking almost 6 three-pointers per game. He also has averaged 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and right under a steal and a block per game as well over that amount of time. So Zach LaVine's numbers coming back scoring-wise have not been amazing. The assists, the rebound numbers all look solid. The shooting percentages look solid as well. He was trying to find his way in this new look offense for the Chicago Bulls. And so, now you're going to have to come back, get through rhythm, things like that. And I know that the Bulls fans who talk about, how much better the Chicago Bulls are without Zach LaVine are really going to be looking to see now, how does this team go back to playing like they did before, right? Does Patrick Williams go back to looking aggressive like he did before Zach LaVine went down as well? So there's going to be all eyes kind of on how the Bulls go back to playing now that we know that Zach LaVine is going to be out at least a week, maybe even 2 weeks. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it pushes closer to that 2-week time period when it's all said and done, just because it's kind of how Zach LaVine goes. Now, if Zach LaVine is out the full 2 weeks, that would put his return right around February 2nd, which is 1 week before the trade deadline. And so if you look at that time period, if he does come back to the Chicago Bulls over that time, which, I think we're all expecting, right? I don't think that Zach's just going to sit out this whole time until a trade gets done or whatever else. So that would mean that Zach LaVine is going to come back with 4 games left to play before the trade deadline. So, we could have 4 more games of Zach LaVine, or we could not. But, this is going to be a big talking piece. I expect you guys to really be going off in the comments as well. Let me know your thoughts as always down below. Make sure you're following the show at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.